Okay, everybody, you've got the aim written down. The aim of the lesson today is twofold: to consider the range of experiences illustrated in the poems we're studying, and to consider the variety of techniques that they show us. For the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at the poems, as I said to you, individually, haven't we? So, what did Blessing show us? What did Limbo show us? What did Night of the Scorpion show us? About what? What are we looking at in particular? What are these poems about? Sanju?
Culture and tradition.
Culture and tradition. They're about culture and tradition.
I've used Bloom's taxonomy for a number of years in my teaching. What initially prompted me to start using it was the need to structure a range of questions for pupils in the class who were at various ranges of ability. And more recently, looking at the need to support gifted and talented pupils, the upper ranges of synthesis and evaluation have been particularly useful.
Think about the one we looked at yesterday, Night of the Scorpion. What in particular was shown about culture in the Night of the Scorpion? You can look at Night of the Scorpion. Look at your notes also. What was said yesterday about culture? Okay, Gurmeet first, then Del Rey.
When they use speech, it's about their beliefs. And so they include their beliefs and contrast between what they believe and what is reality.
What they believe and what is reality. Can you give us an example, Gurmeet?
Like, they believe in rebirth and reincarnation. We just want to show the differences that we have of our culture and their culture.
Okay, can you give us an example from the text? Can everybody read this?
May your suffering decrease the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. And generally that won't be accepted here in this culture.
By some people?
Yeah.
It would be by some people in Britain, wouldn't it? So
in today's lesson, I wanted pupils to have the opportunity to synthesise a range of information. I was aware that there were a range of pupils in the class of varying levels of confidence, varying levels of ability. And what I wanted to do was to build up a pattern of question and answer that allowed them to fit in, to learn from what others were saying. So for some pupils, I went back to ask them very, very concrete questions and then pulled them very quickly through to more abstract analytical questions.
Okay, thank you very much. People looking at Limbo. Very different poem. Can we have Gladys?
We found water is hiding. We believe this to mean that life is being hidden because these people are being this person is being carried away from his culture.
Okay, so in Limbo, the person's being carried away from
home, where they think they belong. Okay,
so what's the importance of water? I mean, Gurmeet was talking about in Blessing, water is life, water is precious. What's the importance of water in Limbo?
It also represents life, but it also represents, I think, being carried away on waves.
So, go on.
Because ships are being used. Ships are also being used in this poem to show being carried away.
What does the ship become? What's the metaphor of the ship then?
I don't know.
Something that. Does anybody answer me on that? What does the ship become?
I think it's the journey of his life. Like he's been taken away from his culture to another place where he doesn't know. His life is taking him somewhere he doesn't know.
Good. So go back to the example of water. Read out the example you were giving us from water. Well done, Del Rey.
And the water is hiding.
All right, importance then?
Water is hiding water is hiding their beliefs because he's been carried away from his beliefs and his culture.
Why Limbo like me?
It represents that they're in a state that they can't get out of. Limbo.
Which means, what's limbo mean?
It's a dance and it's also a place where you can't get out of.
So it's a dance. Thank you, Gladys. Karen, what's the importance of the dance?
The dance represents his culture, where he comes from.
Yes, it represents culture where he comes from. What does it physically look like, a limbo dance?
It's a dance that you bend and go underneath a stick, going lower and lower every time.
So what does that suggest to you? Why use that image in the poem?
I think Every time he's working hard, miss, but every time he tries, he's going lower and lower down. He's got like problems and he's going down.
Today's lesson was quite successful in that it demonstrated to me that the pupils were using the structure of the questions very effectively. Very clearly, some of the boys who previously had been giving one-word answers or perhaps two-word answers were giving quite thoughtful responses where they were developing and extending their ideas and reflecting back on the text. And that was very clear evidence of progression.
How are we shown how in this experience, this culture, water's important? I'll start with Sanjeev and then I'm going to move on. Yeah.
He goes in the second paragraph at the start. He goes imagine the drip of it, the drip of water. He goes imagine, because like it's like you did never see water. Like we can't imagine water because we like see it every day.
What's drip mean?
Drip like a tiny.
What does drip mean? Tiny bit.
Yeah.
So what's he saying to us? Imagine a tiny bit of
Yeah,
water.
a tiny bit can give him life. That's what he's trying to say.
Even a tiny bit. But why use onomatopoeia? Why say to us, imagine the drip of it? What happens at the beginning of that poem? And then how does it change?
To go that at the beginning of the poem, there's never enough water, and then it comes slowly. Like it starts with like small bits of how a little bit of water can help, and then a sudden rush of fortune.
Are they? I know a little bit of water can help, but is he actually trying to get into our minds? How is he trying to get into our minds? Watching a tap just dripping water. We turn on taps now, and water, we use the word gush, don't we? Yeah? Water rushes out, gushes out. Why start this poem with imagine the drip of it?
Because they're not like us. They don't see water like an everyday thing.
How does blessing change?
It changes like at small steps. Like from there is never enough water to the drip of water, and then sometimes sudden rush of fortune.
Yeah.
Is sudden rush a small step from drip?
No.
It's a big step.
Yeah.
It's a bit, so it's not a small step, is it?
It's the poet is trying to lure us in to like the imagery and like the values of the water.
So how does he do it? He's trying to look, that's a lovely word, lure us in, get us involved. How, dear?
He changes the pace of the water from not enough water, a drip of water, then a sudden rush of water. That's dramatic change of water, the poem pace.
Okay, so he changes the pace.
You cannot see this as a rigid series of questions that has to be applied at all costs in all situations. You've got to respond to your class, and sometimes the questions have to be varied. I think it's something that you cannot do on your own. It's something that has to be done as part of department work, perhaps even across subjects, but certainly within subjects. It's very useful as a focus for developmental work, for looking at the use of Bloom's taxonomy, for example, when peer monitoring is going ahead.
Why is the blessing singing? Got singers in this room. Why is the blessing singing? Why isn't the blessing dripping all over them? Gladys?
Children carry on life.
Yeah.
So it's good, it would be best to leave it last, as in, because children are the future. Instead of just leaving it at the grown-ups, children are there to carry on after the grown-ups have left.
Right, so the children are important. Why are they playing? Why are they playing?
Because that's what children do. It shows innocence. It shows innocence of children.
If they haven't got enough water, is that what children do? If they're dying through lack of water, is that what children do?
No.
No.
They haven't seen water for a long time.
So they're playing. So why is water so important here? People are rushing for it, but what also does it show?
It's new.
It's new. It's life, isn't it? Again, going back to life. Sanjeev, well done, Gladys.
There is a dialogue amongst colleagues in the school as to how best to support pupils, not only because we have a large range of pupils who have English as an additional language, but also to try to develop the confidence of pupils. So we're trying to build in structures for them all the time.
Okay, so the image creates a picture in our mind of what? What exactly are we looking for in terms of other cultures? Somebody from here who hasn't answered yet. Think of the poem. Which poem did you look at?
Island Man.
Okay, so you looked at Island Man. Right. What's Island Man about?
Alaman is about a man who lives in London but dreams about, wakes up to the Caribbean island.
He wakes up to a Caribbean island. What, he's physically transported? Physically moved? He's actually there?
No,
No. Where is he?
he's at his house.
He's at his house. So why, what's the Caribbean?
His background and his culture.
Right, so why is the Caribbean so important to him? It's his background, his culture.
That's where he came from, and he grew up there. And
What's the first thing in the poem?
morning, start of the day.
The start of the day. What does he think about in the start of the day?
The sound of,
Give me the quotes. What does he think about?
The sound of the blue surf,
Right, which is?
like the sea.
The sea, which is where?
In the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean. Why is it important that the first thing he thinks about is the Caribbean? And in the sequence of the poem, remember we've talked about sequence, poet's order of the poem. Why is that important?
Because that's
Because?
the most important. It's important to describe what it's like on the island before he wakes up to his back to London.
It's important to him?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Delray?
The pupils have a very clear understanding, I think, now of the processes involved and the expectations of each other. They are drawing out answers from each other. They are using the text to focus on. They are listening very carefully to each other.
Why assonance?
Assonance.
Why?
To emphasise on some points.
On what?
On
The awkward.
yeah, like how awkward it was, like brash with glass, to show how, because they have glass, it looks fancy, and so the differences, even though they're in the same place, the differences in culture.
Yeah. Does it show his feelings? Does
Yeah.
it show his values?
Yeah.
How?
Because it says brash. Brash usually means arrogant,
Yeah.
and or
Harsh word.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to show that these people, they're showing off basically, and we haven't got this.
Okay, good. Sanju?
And like the poet plays with words, because it says here, guard at the gate post, whites only in, like they're trying to illustrate like it's like a bed and breakfast, but it's really like a place that.
White,
And white's only
It's
in.
a play.
It's
a play
like
on
double
word,
entendre.
Play on words to
Yeah.
show what?
to show that anyone who's not white can't come in.
Okay.
The effect on the learning skills of the pupils has been very positive. It's been very supportive because they've been given a structure to work their way through. They respond to the questions. They build up their pattern of knowledge and understanding and can then go on to the extension activities at the end of the scale.